the Greeneville NRZ's hydrant painting contest, and we're here to show you a little bit about how to do it. We ran through doing one and we learned a lot, and we hope you learn from this video. So here we have an example of a hydrant that needs painting. You can see the blue band underneath the cap, and then there you can see the hydrant number. It's on a decal, black letters on white that's stuck to the hydrant, and that cannot be painted over. And the blue band cannot be painted over. And the chains are attached to rings that hold the caps, or that attach to the caps. The rings cannot be painted stuck. And there's one other thing, which we'll see in a minute. Here I'm cleaning up the hydrant. This one was brand new, almost brand new. And I buffed it up and took out some splashed concrete and cleaned it up. Then I laid down drop cloth, and I used just plastic bags. You can see my materials at the bottom here. This has a number on it. It's just painted on, that 114. Now, this is the last place you have to not paint, and that's the groove that allows them to turn this top nut to turn the water on. And I'm using the blue masking tape, which will be supplied. And I actually tore it in half down the middle because you don't need much. And I'm getting it ready to paint. Oh, here I'm using the blue masking tape to keep paint from getting inside the groove, because when we're finished, the ring has to turn on the cap. As I remove the cap, the ring and chain have to stay put. So I'm masking off this ring, and you can see a number painted on the cap. Again, numbers that are painted on, you can paint over, because the Department of Public Utilities will paint new numbers on your hydrant. Also, if you have a number stenciled on, oh, there's where the blue color band would be, or red, or whatever color. There's a number. I'm continuing to mask off these rings. The only kind of number that you cannot paint over is the decal type we showed you in the beginning, that white, large, rectangular decal with black numbers on it. Mask that off. Do not paint that. We will be providing written rules, these same 4 rules basically, written when you pick up your paint. Okay, doing some more masking here. I'm going to be using a brush. And in this case, the color is pretty much solid to start with. It is solid green to start with that I'm going to do. And so I'm going to use the brush to avoid some areas, but the masking tape will help. At various times, okay, here I'm cleaning areas, shaking the paint. Cleaning before. Some people use a solvent on it, but I didn't. The paint was clean. And I'm just brushing it on. And I can tell by how it looked at the end that it seemed to take very well. I hope it lasts. So, like I was saying, I'm using a brush so I can avoid painting certain areas And then I keep turning these to make sure they don't stick. I think this took about an hour and a half for the first coat. Now you'll have to plan out your painting. If you have one major color, you should do that. And then you have to let it dry. The instructions are on the paint, on the can of the paint. I think it's 24 hours before the next coat. So I'm putting a pretty thorough coat on this. Later I used white paint to outline a couple of G's for Greeneville. And of course people walking by were interested, and I talked to them, and some asked, why green? Well, Greeneville. Okay, before the paint dries, I'm taking the masking tape off. Now you can paint this top nut, which they turn to turn the water on, but avoid that groove. Paint, paint, paint. I did not paint the very bottom at the sidewalk. And one reason I didn't is because it wasn't painted to start with. I might talk to NPU before we do this. Okay, this is day 3. I think we waited a couple of days for the paint to dry, and I'm applying a stencil I made, a flexible stencil. Did it work? Not too bad. I think that if I were a freehand letter painter doing a G, freehand would have been better, but I can't do that. I'm not a painter. Solid colors I can do. But I did cut a nice stencil, and I thought I'd try it. I did ask NPU to come down and make sure I did okay with the painting. And I haven't heard back from them that I did anything wrong. Now in this case, I'm going to use spray. The hardware store, Savage Hardware, advised against it. Mike advised against it. If there's any wind, you have a problem. My problem really is, number one, inexperience, and number two, I didn't get far enough away from what I was painting. What I'm painting is fairly small. And I got too close, and so I had some runs. Spray painting is, I guess you have to know what you're doing. This is a continuation of masking off the area. I'm covering the large area that isn't going to get paint on. Of course, with spray paint, you have overspray. So really, you have to mask off the whole area, and sometimes even the sidewalk too. You saw I used plastic bags on the ground, weighted with little stones, for a drop cloth. We're asking you to be considerate of your neighbors and not to make a mess and to clean up after yourselves. almost ready to paint. Of course, some people probably would apply the masking tape directly to form the letter G. That would be another way to do it. I'm going to I put a glove on my left hand to hold down the stencil while I use the spray can to protect my hand. I used tape that I tripled over to make a little ring that creates a double-sided tape to hold my stencil down. But I did need the extra help with the fingers in the glove. Looks like a good idea, but the results weren't perfect. Maybe I'll paint it over and try again. I see in this video what I saw when I saw the final product is that the G is not exactly straight up and down. Oh well. Let's just say we learned a lot. There's that ring forming a double-sided tape. And I'll come back and use some green to touch up a drip or two. But again, I have to wait a couple of days for the white to dry. 24 hours. Now, this is using the tape directly to mask off what I don't want painted in white. And the end result here is what I hope will look like a G on the large cap. Pretty good idea for masking. Again, like in a little close. Not great technique. Some of you will be very experienced painters, and from seeing the results of some work from other cities, people did a great job. We wish you the best. I want to thank Zach for doing the video and the audio. Thanks Savage Hardware for the paint and the other sponsors. Thank everybody at the Greeneville NRZ, Neighborhood Revitalization Zone, for their help in doing this.